Will you stop talking? Stop being whatever it is you're trying to be. You have no authority here, Jackie Weaver. No authority at all.
She's just kicked him out.
I
No, she's kicked him out. Don't. She's kicked him out.
Jackie Weaver's rise to national fame has been nothing short of sensational. The fact that the nation has taken to her story like wildfire. She has made an appearance on Good Morning Britain with Piers Morgan. She has also made an appearance on BBC News. And last but not least, she has made appearances on game shows, and she's had a fairly busy life. And now, ladies and gentlemen, she makes an appearance on Wee Weekly 3. Let's find out if Jackie Weaver still has the authority.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Wee Weekly 3 podcast. Today, unfortunately, Dan and Ashton have not been able to come onto this podcast, but don't worry, we've definitely made it so it's less disappointing. We've got a very special guest here today. We have got the woman herself, the famous Jackie Weaver. Hello, Jackie Weaver. Welcome to the podcast.
Good morning, George. And that's a classic example of if you don't ask, you don't get.
Brilliant. Exactly. Honestly, it's amazing to have you on here, Jackie Weaver. You were just telling me, if I'm allowed to say, it will probably be out afterwards anyway. You were on the Jeremy Vine thing.
Yeah, so, just finished filming it. It is a bit scary because it is live.
Oh my goodness me! Oh wow, that is a bit daunting, isn't it? Don't worry, this isn't live. I can edit anything out of this. So
I can swear with impunity then.
Yeah, you can swear in front of a 15-year-old. Yeah. Let's hope from grace from Jeremy Kyle to me. So
not Jeremy Kyle.
Jeremy Vine.
I don't think we've heard anything from Jeremy Kyle for an awfully long time, have we? Or have I just missed it?
Did you like his shows?
I liked some of them. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a bit like the Handforth meeting. I mean, I think the public generally have a kind of, I think we all do. I'm not singling myself out in that. We have a kind of car crash mentality.
Oh.
So when you see something awful happening, you can't help but watch. And some of the Jeremy Kyle shows were a bit like that. They were kind of like watching something that, you wouldn't experience. And some of them I thought some of them were excellent. But some of them were a bit like watching somebody fall apart on telly. That's so much nice.
There was some good moments and then there was some below the belt moments, wasn't there?
Yeah.
I felt. Anyway, let's get the first question. So,
okay.
Jackie Weaver, what made you want to go and work in parish counselling and why?
Okay, I live, and at that time also lived in a small rural community. Mm-hmm. I had 3 small children, mm-hmm. And there really was very little that a kind of mum at home could do. I got tired of washing nappies, although I continued to wash nappies. Back in those days, we actually washed them, and wanted to do something that would just kind of stretch my mind. So I went along and stood as a local councillor, mm-hmm. in our parish council. And I think I was there for about 3 years, but being a councillor was not for me. It just wasn't it didn't give me what I wanted.
Yeah.
So in fact, I moved from being a councillor to being basically a council administrator. Mm-hmm. So I see the role of a councillor as being someone who comes up with the ideas.
Yeah.
Somebody who has the passion for their community. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the administrator is the person who helps them kind of navigate their way through all the rules and regulations to bring them to fruition. And that's the bit I enjoy, George.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Why do you enjoy it? Like, is there any favourite part, like, to that administrative work?
Well, it's problem solving.
Mm.
I mean, pure and simple. And in many ways, it doesn't matter what the problem is. For me, there is a pleasure in solving it. I mean, my children in the day used to call me the Tetris Queen.
And then the second question that I've got for you, Jackie.
How has clerking been up to this point?
Like administrative work that you've like done?
Yeah. In council administration, there are lots of jobs. Being a clerk, clerking is one of them.
Yeah.
And I have been a clerk. I've been a clerk to a large Warrington council for a number of months, not years.
Yeah.
But actually, my day job is working for the Cheshire Association of Local Councils. And what I do is look after 234 parish councils, providing training, advice and guidance for the clerks. So it's a kind of point of reference for them. Although these days I don't actually clerk very often.
Oh, yeah, of course, you're famous now, aren't you?
Well, no, I don't mean because I'm famous. It's just not my job.
Oh, isn't it?
No. But I think that's, it kind of shows that people don't really understand how parish councils work.
Yeah.
So a parish council will have its own employee, their clerk, but my job is to support the clerks.
Yeah.
Kind of like a more overarching job, so that when they need help, like they might need some contracts, they might need model documents, they might need to understand the coronavirus regulation. It's my job to help them understand those.
Of course. Like, you were talking about problem solving. You must have been struggling with the problem solving when you've got that chairman in the background chipping in every so often.
I think there's two aspects to problem solving.
Yeah.
There's the practical problem solving. What part of the legislation do we need to use? How do we interpret this? What do the rules say? But there's always also the personal side, or as I sometimes call it, hostage negotiations, where actually you're dealing with people, and sometimes you're dealing with difficult people.
Of course.
And I think you saw one or two difficult people on the video.
Yeah, we definitely did, didn't we? But that ended up being viral. And do you deep down it must be weird to say this, but do you think deep down there thank them and then don't thank them at the same time? Because if it kind of wasn't for that, you wouldn't be on the Jeremy Vine show, for instance, or Piers Morgan show.
Well, I mean, personally, it's very flattering to be asked to go on shows like that. There's no doubt about it. But for me, the bigger picture is that though what we saw that night was absolutely appalling behaviour from some councillors, there's no question about it. It's actually given me a platform to talk to all sorts of people of a very varied demographic and across the whole country about getting involved in local councils and making sure that we improve the standards of behaviour in councils where there is poor behaviour. Because I think people saw that night the effect of poor behaviour if it is not checked.
Cool.
So although there's fun things to do, and of course the fun things are the kind of things that make people like yourself interested in me. Yeah. No matter what exciting stuff I was doing here in Cheshire with town and parish councils, you would never have shown an interest in it. So it's the media stuff that enables me to get the other story out. So in that sense, I think you're right. It's something for which, I am sorry that they got the media attention that they got.
Yeah.
But I'm also pleased they got it, because I hope it affects change in Handforth. But I think it has had a change across the country in how people see town and parish councils.
Definitely. And there's been a revived interest in parish.
I think so, George.
You also have that, was it 16-year-old GCSE student filming the meetings as well?
Yeah. Well, he wasn't actually filming the meeting. He's part of a policy study group at University in London. Yep. And his interest is local politics at town and parish council level. He came across the video of the meeting, and of course the video itself is really quite long. And he was discussing it in his politics group, and one of his friends, a lovely young girl, said, well, let's do something with this. Let's put it out there. So she was the one that actually did the manipulation.
Wow.
They kind of did the cutting and chopping of the video, so they actually got the condensed bits together rather than sitting there waiting for something to happen, which is more like the original video. So yeah, 2 young policy students in London.
Oh wow! And that is
It's it.
that is kind of the thing that's kind of projected it out there now, thanks to them, I guess. So
Sorry, and on the back of that, they and myself have been doing a number of podcasts and events talking about local government and young people's involvement.
Brilliant, and I can gladly say that it's definitely worked. You've definitely got a lot of the young people interested now.
Yep.
So, what was the background? The clash of heads and everything. Like, what was the background? What was the chairman doing? Why was he so agitated and everything?
Something like that. Something like that doesn't bubble up in one night. I mean, don't get me wrong. People who are involved in local democracy sometimes feel very passionately about what they're talking about, and that can often kind of spill out into intemperate discussion, etc. But in this instance, it kind of started more than 6 months before, so that the chairman had suspended the clerk,
right,
and declared himself clerk.
Oh.
And now we had one councillor missing because there's currently a vacancy that will be filled in May, and I hope there will be a real interest in the election in May. So then there is a complete power imbalance. So there's the other councillors on the council who wanted to hold a meeting to talk about ordinary hand-forth business.
Yep.
They approached him as chairman to call a meeting, and he wouldn't. They approached him as clerk to call a meeting, and he wouldn't. So they exercised their right under the 1972 Act for 2 councillors to call a meeting. But that meant they had no one to provide administrative support for the meeting.
I see.
So they approached Chalk to say, could we, provide someone to do the meeting? And I just knew, because of the history of Handforth, this was going to be a problematic meeting. So I thought, no, I'll go myself. I wouldn't put someone else into a situation that I wouldn't deal with myself. So that was why I went there. So I hosted the meeting on Zoom, because they weren't even able to host a meeting.
Right.
The rest you see on video.
And credit to you for knowing how to use Zoom and kicking people out and everything. Like,
well, in fairness, I have had some experience of it, of course, since about March. Because prior to the coronavirus regulations, parish councils could not meet virtually.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So it was a steep learning curve from when they were introduced, and the whole of the sector, that's all the town and parish councils across the country, were all having to learn how to use some form of Zoom, Skype, well, I'm sure there are others. Google, that I just learned about that one recently.
Google, yeah.
And so there were other platforms. So we've all had to learn from them. And of course, since then, we've done, I'm sure it must be 100,000 meetings, might even be more. I'm only kidding, but it does seem like a lot. Of course, as an organisation, trying to continue with the work we do, we put all our training online. So I also do training sessions for councillors on Zoom.
Oh, wow. Oh, brilliant. Well,
but I am no expert by any means.
You certainly still do have the authority, though.
Oh, bless you.
This is a question for you, and I think we all know the answer to this one. Do you think you acted the right way with your authority, or do you think you bent the rules a little bit to calm the situation?
I always give the same answer to this one, George, and it'll always sound like a kind of evasive one, but I'll give it to you anyway. Firstly, most of parish council legislation is not tested case law.
Right.
And so only when something has been tested in the High Court do you get a black and white answer on things. Up until that point, you could put half a dozen lawyers in a room and they would all come up with a slightly different interpretation of the rules or regulations, which often gives us a bit more flexibility.
Cool.
However, if you watch the video, you will notice that the chairman actually starts by saying the meeting hasn't started. He says that twice. So in which case, there is no legislation that applies. And what we're dealing with is someone who is disrupting a public meeting, because the meeting was not called by the chairman, it was called by the two councillors.
Right.
So I'm quite happy for others to discuss it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy for people to tell me I'm wrong.
Mm.
But for the moment, I don't think I'm wrong. And I think there's another point as well, which I think you have to kind of say, is that I can't have spent the last 10 years arguing for improvement in the standards of behaviour in a parish council and then sit there and let that happen.
Of course.
If nothing else, I will not be a hypocrite.
You've got to fight for what you believe in, I guess, haven't you? Cool. That's brilliant. Have you spoken to the chairman and vice chairman since this, or have they remained pretty silent and, under the covers throughout this?
The chairman is certainly unrepentant. There was another council meeting the night before last.
Yeah.
The clerk, we managed to get the clerk reinstated, so the clerk is back. There was no need for me to be there. And it was clear that the chairman remains quite unrepentant. The very noisy councillor, the one on the iPad that needs two people to operate it.
Yeah.
We haven't seen anything of him for some time. But my understanding is that all three felt justified for their actions that night.
Of course.
Which I think is frightening.
Yeah, I know, right. But your handful seems to be getting better. Although the other night, there was a person that they were trying to invite on. They thought was it a clerk they were trying to invite on, and then someone said, "You have no authority."
I know. I mean, I think it was always going to be the case that when their first meeting after that video went viral was always going to be challenging.
Yeah, of course.
I think the chairman did struggle to control it.
Yeah.
I think the chairman, on a number of occasions during the evening, actually said how tired he felt.
Yeah, of course.
And I guess that as a fellow human being, I have to have some sympathy for that. And I guess personally, I would encourage him to think about his own well-being. And it may be that in order to do that, he perhaps needs to consider whether he has the personal capacity to continue as chairman.
Of course, it's a strenuous job, but I guess it's kind of interesting as well, like how dynamics work like that, and it must take a toll on the man, and I feel for him. The fact that he's got all this attention on him, and it must be hard to.
It's certainly strenuous, fighting people all the time.
Yes.
Sometimes maybe you should just stop fighting.
Is that your message to him?
I'm not sure that Councillor Tolver is in any mood to take a message from me.
Well, that moves us to our sixth question. How has it been dealing with like the fame and the attention for all this?
It's. I guess it's. I mean, I was talking to my husband. I talk to him regularly, but we're talking about this the other night, kind of saying, I cannot believe it is only 2 weeks. And it is only 2 weeks. I mean, if you looked at my diary, you would not believe what we've picked up in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I guess I've been so busy, I haven't really had time to stop and take stock of it. But it kind of feels that, for the moment, this is of interest to people like yourself, George. Next week, who knows? So it feels that, when we've got your interest, when we've got your attention, this is the time to try and get that message out.
Of course.
So there's no point in kind of saying, well, I'll take the long approach to this and kind of enjoy the ride. I think it feels more like, hang on tight, and let's see where it goes.
Like, so you say about the message, like, just for like people watching that haven't understood the message, what is your message, just to get that out there while you can?
My message is that often I think people are kind of a little disinterested in politics and government.
Yeah.
I think even more so over lockdown.
Yeah.
My personal opinion is that's because we feel we can't influence national government. I don't know, you might be right, maybe we can't. But where you can influence, it's local government in your local community through your town and parish council. And, the message that I keep trying to get across is to younger people like yourself, George, get involved, get interested, bear witness, if nothing else. If you are interested, and if you want to sort of say, well, I don't know if I'm interested in this or not, I'd like to know a bit more, can I encourage you to have a look at the National Association of Local Councils website, that's nalc.gov.uk, and look at their Make a Change campaign.
Yep.
There's all sorts of other interesting stuff on there as well. But if you've nothing else, please check that out.
I will.
And, see if it's something that you're interested in.
Brilliant. Could be a future career choice for me. Fair.
Why not? And it's also often a grounding for activists.
Yep.
So people who do, in fact, want to move up the political ladder.
Yeah.
It can they're non-political.
Yeah.
It gives you the opportunity to find your voice. What do you want to say? Rather than kind of starting at a political level where on some level you are already told what you want to say. And good grounding.
Brilliant. Is it like, was it when you started, did you feel that it was a good place for you to like gain experience for that type of thing?
At the time, I felt it was just something other than wet nappies. And as I say, in a deeply rural community, not a lot of games in town. So, that was my starting point. I didn't go into it thinking, wow, this is going to be so exciting in a career.
Yeah.
And as I say, that was something that developed over time. And again, it's about getting involved and then deciding what direction you want to take.
Yeah, of course. That leads me to, well, I'll go for one more question and then maybe pick one fan question. How about that? Right. Okay. So, what is next for Jackie Weaver?
What is next for Jackie Weaver? I've got a lot of really interesting things in the diary.
Yeah.
Some of them are spoken about, the TV ones I've already mentioned. But I am also absolutely delighted to have been asked to be the keynote speaker at the National Union of Students Conference.
Oh, brilliant.
They would never in a million years have ever even thought to ask me had it not been for everything else that's happened. So I'm really proud of that. I'm really looking forward to it.
Kind of like the butterfly effect, isn't it? Of everything that's happened. It must be amazing for you. So my last question, and it's from, I think we've asked the first question. Let's go from Callum Johnson. Ben Whittle asked the question, like, what's the biggest change in your life since the meeting? But I'll go to Callum Johnson's one first, depending on how much time you've got. If you were Prime Minister, what's the first thing you'd change? Long one.
It's a really difficult one because everybody wants something different changing. What would I change at this moment?
Yeah.
I would go back to daily briefings. Because
Brilliant.
what we need to know is an update. We need to understand where we are to make sense of it.
Brilliant. That sounds.
And your last question?
And my last question. What's been the biggest change in your life since the meeting, and what is your favourite football team? That's 2 questions double-barreled into one. Sorry, Jackie.
Well, the football one is easy.
Yeah.
Despite the fact I have a husband who's a man and 3 sons, none of us are interested in football. Sorry.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not a one. The other question? Can't remember.
The other question from Ben Whittle was, what's been the biggest change in your life since the meeting?
I have absolutely no spare time at all.
Oh no! Sorry, Jackie. Oh, dear.
I'm sorry, man. Sorry, George. I must leave you now.
Thank
you. That was good fun, and it was a pleasure to meet you.
You too. Thank you very much. Good luck in everything.
Thank you, George. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. It's been a pleasure, really, doing this video. My favourite podcast yet, because I learnt so many things from a woman who clearly had so much life experience to offload on me, and you know, you learn quite a few things there about Jackie Weaver that you may have not heard in the mainstream media. And the fact that she's been on Jeremy Vine, Piers Morgan and everything, she's now given a little man like me spare time. It's amazing. As you heard, her schedule is filled at the moment. And if she is listening right now, thank you ever so much for giving me that time, Jackie. Honestly, it's a pleasure. And if you ever want to come on again, please do. But thank you everyone for watching. It's been a pleasure. I hope you all have a good day. And Jackie, don't worry, you still have the authority. Good luck at that press conference.